Okay, thanks. Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Monday, August 19th. I'll call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Beth, can we have a roll call, please?
Select Chair, Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Coy.
He's excused.
Selectman Mr. Gifford.
Present.
Selectman Ms. Costa.
Present.
Selectman Mr. Britton.
Aye.
Please note for the record, we have Town Moderator Mr. Harb here. I believe we have Ms. Slade from the Library Trustees and Town Manager Mr. Colby.
Thank you, Beth. So I'll rise for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have public comment. I'm just going to read a paragraph before we open it up. The public has a right to attend Board of Selectmen meetings except under certain exemptions for non-public sessions as outlined in statute. Members of the public at meetings wishing to speak can only do so if recognized by the chair, and the chair may place limits of the timing on public comment along with the length of time. 2 to 3 minutes per speaker is considered appropriate. Public input should be directed to the board as a whole, not to the individual board members. Content of the input should be limited to current agenda items. Members of the public who would like to address the board regarding an issue not on the agenda make an appointment with the town manager to be on the agenda for a future meeting. Such appointments are subject to approval by the chair, vice chair, and the town manager. It must be made by 12 p.m. the Thursday before any given meeting. So, anyone for public comment this evening? Just step up, state your name and...
Good evening. My name is Jamie Bazanson. I own a small business over across town at 2 Wilder Drive. I just wanted to take some time tonight just to come by, kind of give a big thank you to you guys, especially to Mr. Colby. About a year ago, let me step back. We moved to Plasto. We moved our business from Massachusetts to New Hampshire, Plasto, New Hampshire specifically in 2013, so just about 10 years ago now. We, over at 2 Wilder Drive and also our neighbors at 4 Wilder Drive, started to experience some really bad well issues about a year ago. We kind of fought through on our own, doing some filtration, different things like that. We quickly found out that we were in an area where we were unable to re-drill a well because of some contamination issues for various different reasons. We approached Mr. Colby via email on a Thursday. He asked we meet the following Monday. I'll be honest, he was very, very well prepared. He had brought in an engineer from Underwood who had worked with you guys really closely on your water project. Devin from Underwood was super prepared. I think myself and Alan Davis, who was representing 4 Wilder Drive, we were really just taken back by how much work was done between Thursday and Monday. We kind of felt like we were going there to just, get this thing kicked off and, kind of plead our case. I think up front, Devin and Mr. Colby were very honest and blunt about the length of time that it was going to take. As you know, nothing moves quickly per se. Especially with, the funding challenges we had. So they presented an alternative of hooking up to the town water system, which I think is, something we were all really welcoming and wishing for. To kind of make the process short and sweet and commend Mr. Colby. He was able to work with Janet Stevens and the state to get some federal funding to help out with that connection. I'll be honest, like if that didn't happen, I'm not sure what we would have done. At 2 Wilder Drive, it's just me. I have about 44 employees. But at 4 Wilder Drive, it's close to 150,000 square feet, multiple companies. I think there's about 18 different businesses out there. Without that help and the leadership from Mr. Colby of getting this process moving and staying on the state and working with the state to stay after the federal government on the funding side of it, I'm not sure where we would be. I mean, to be honest, the alternative would probably to be try to move out of that property, because I know I've been trucking in water for it's close to about 5 months now. Financially, it's a burden, of course. I think the bigger aspect is we're hanging on for dear life with that well, and we weren't sure one day when we turned on that well and we were getting nothing out of it. So I know, a lot of times on public comment, there's a lot of negative things going on about the town of Plasto, and, government's tough, and I get it. I will say our experience from moving from Massachusetts to New Hampshire from the very beginning, whether it was dealing with Cindy Harrington up at the state when we moved, or the town of Plasto when we refurbed our building at 2 Wilder Drive, has been super positive. So I just wanted to come here and say thank you. I know we're still a long ways from this project being completed, and I know there's going to be more hurdles, and probably more hurdles than I can even imagine. But at least we felt good about the response we got and the communication from the town as well as the state. So I just wanted to say thank you and commend you guys and say we really appreciate it. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Coming in. Have a good night. Is there anyone else for public comment? Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Ryan LeBrecq, 174 Main Street. In reviewing last meeting a few minutes ago, just had a few comments in regards to the police department update. I understand every chief, every department head for every department, or every municipal department at every town across the country wants every possible resource at their fingertips and wants the best and the best constantly. And that's great when you have a large town that can pay for it. Unfortunately, we have a very small tax base, and we are in a situation where departments need to prioritize what's necessary over what is desired. And also, we need to hold other towns that are utilizing our services accountable in the form of paying for or splitting costs for things, whether it be another town or the school system, et cetera. In regards to the resource officer, I understand the school sounds like partially pays for that resource officer when they're not there, the school's not in session, whatever. The town has to pay for it. I mean, if the resource officer is assigned to the school, in my opinion, the school system should pay for said resource officer and all the costs associated, whether they have a cruiser, et cetera. Also, in regards to the radio communication, seems like came up multiple times that the radio communication doesn't work well in the school. And the possible solution to that is a repeater in the school. Well, the school system should pay for a repeater in the school if the radios don't work in the school. The town, I understand I'm still going to end up paying part of that, but then it gets spread across all the towns utilizing that service. If we want to make it safer in the schools and have communication better in the schools and the school system, i.e. the other 3 towns should also help pay for that ability. In regards to police dog, seems like it's a done deal. Seems like they're going to be posting a position. We're going after grants that pay for a small percentage of it. May have other outside contributions, et cetera. But it's, again, saddling the town with additional costs that we don't currently have, and it's doing so without bringing it forth to a warrant article for vote. For something like that, in my opinion, that should be a warrant article. And or if there is going to be a significant amount of donations involved, then wait for said donations to come through and be committed to pay for such cost and operating costs moving forward, until moving forward officially with something of that nature. Again, I understand the desire for it. I'm not against any of these things. It's just that we are not a big town, and we can't continue to have death by 1,000 cuts, which is what all of this is. Also, in regards to the police dog, it was stated that in the past, when we did have one, that most of the utilization of the dog went to the school system. Many calls to the school system, probably drug related, whatever. So why isn't the school paying for a portion of that dog if that's the case? If it's going to be something that's utilized in the schools regularly. In regards to the communication towers, I think we need a lot more instances of what communication failure means. And I mean, we've been operating on the system we have for a while. I know that we've put some money into fixing said system. To now have a $4+ million, even if there's $1 million grant involved. I know Atkinson is paying a small cost to the town yearly, but Atkinson should pay 50% of the cost of any upgrades to the system because they're relying on the system just like Plastow is. I mean, we're not a charitable organization here. We're going to share, and I think it's good. I think we should share. We should share. In my opinion, we should share fire departments. We should share police departments. We should share communications, just like we're sharing timber lane, and we should spread the costs. So I think that anything we do to that system should be borne upon both towns. That's all I had for comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lebrecht. Have a good night. All right, next up on the agenda, we have an update on the September 10th primary. I'd like to welcome the town moderator, Bob Harb. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me here to speak on the September 10th primary. We will be back at the Fish and Game, and I thank the Fish and Game for allowing us and the board for putting us back there. The hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's a state election, so we have not yet passed the required vote to change the state election. You may remember we passed for our town, but upcoming later this year will be the vote to change us back to 7 to 7 for the state. But as of right now, September 10th, it's 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Handicap parking will be as we've usually had in the front right side, right near the ramp, so that you will enter via the ramp. Everyone enters via the ramp, and then you exit the rear door. I'm going to request that those that are there campaigning in the corral, that if they're going to have their cars there all day, can you please park as far away from the entrance as you can? It's a giant parking lot that Fish and Game has. So if you park at the end, that way people coming and leaving voting can get better access. So I'm requesting that. My assistant moderator, Mr. Norman Major, keeps records for about 30 years, and he tells me that he's expecting we should have about 1,500 voters come that day, and that'd be a good turnout, 1,500. So the ballots, you can look online. I brought one ballot just as a sample. They're only one page, so you won't have 7 pages to feed through like the town election. You can look at the sample ballots because they're all available at the Secretary of State online elections division. You can print them out, you can read them and look at them. The date to change your party affiliations already passed. That was June 4th. So I would suggest that if you're not sure what party you're in, call the town clerk or go online. The Secretary of State has an online verification of what party you're in. Why do I suggest that? Because at least 1 or 2 people every election comes and says, I didn't think I'm registered in that party. If you have an issue with how you're registered, it would be extremely helpful if you could check that out ahead of time. Now, probably about 1/3 of our voters are undeclared. So as you approach the ballot clerks, for this election anyways, you're requested not only to give your name, your address, but if you have a party affiliation, please let them know. If you're undeclared, you can say undeclared. My clerks will ask you, and they will repeat back at you your name and address and what the record shows for party and affiliation. If you're registered as undeclared, they're going to ask you for this election, do you want a Democrat or Republican ballot? We don't have an undeclared ballot. So you have to choose. And then the usual question comes, well, what if I want to go back? So we don't have red slips, but we're going to have pink slips and blue slips. So when you declare what party you want to be in, if you say Democrat, the clerks will give you or ask you, do you want to go back to undeclared? If you say yes, they'll give you a blue slip. You fill it out, you check it. On exiting the rear door, you're going to find 2 boxes. Guess what? One's blue and one's red or pink. So you put your slip in those boxes, and we will have clerks take that slip, put them in the proper place, and bring you back to undeclared. So pink or red and blue, and you drop them off on your way back out. That way you can go back to undeclared. The elections have been run very smoothly with the help of the board, the citizens, and the Fish and Game. We think we're at a good place. This will be a little bit of a test because the next election in November will be our first presidential at Fish and Game. So that, and if we have snow or anything like that, which I'm not wishing for, it'll be a father test. But this, with the 1,500 estimate, is probably the biggest group we've had anticipated to come to elections. But we're prepared. We'll have sufficient tables for you. And if some of you that voted last time will know, we now have separators and dividers, so you'll be told what line to go in, and we should have plenty of room for the people inside that first room on the right side when you enter from the ramp. And then, as Mr. Gifford has reminded us, there's also a covering outside if the line's that large and you wind up outside. We've stayed well within the limit of how long you should take to be in line, and with only one ballot, as long as everybody works together, we can get you in and out very quickly. So again, your name, your address, your party affiliation, or what kind of who do you want to declare for this election. That will speed up the process when you're in front of the ballot clerks. If you're undeclared, you'll get the pink slip or the red or the blue slip, so you can go back to undeclared if you want. Not everybody wants to, but if you do, that's the process. I'm looking forward to a great day, a big turnout. Everybody's prepared for this, so I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. If anybody has any questions, they can contact me or the town clerk or Norm Major ahead of time, and we're happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
All right. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Hart? All right. Do you need any more assistance, like any volunteers to come and help the day of?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. We can always use counters at the end of the night because we have a triple method to count. We have hand count of every ballot. So if we have 1,500 ballots, we have to count 1,500 ballots to make sure. So if you can come even only for an hour or so at the end of the night, come about 8:15, and then we can always use you for counting. If in the future you're interested in being a ballot clerk, there are trainings that go on, and we're always looking for extra ballot clerks. I forgot to mention one thing. You can register to vote at the election. Please remember to bring your ID with you. Not only regular voters, but most importantly, those first-time registration voters. There's a process now that if you do not have an ID, at least it's not the fire alarm. So if you don't have an ID, you're going to wind up having a provisional ballot that will count but if you don't produce your ID within so many days and you get a letter and a package, your count will be deducted from the voting. So a lot easier if you just bring your ID. I want to say our citizens, since the first institution of Bring Your ID, have been excellent. I think at the most I've ever seen is one person may not have brought an ID. So I thank the citizens for doing that. But most important, if you're registering the day of the election, the primary, to bring your ID.
Bob, when's the quickest people can take an absentee ballot?
I don't know, because Martha usually takes care of that. And then there's also the new law that passed about a year or so ago about if there happens to be a hurricane coming or something, how you can get, if you're afraid of the weather or whatever, you can get an absentee ballot actually the day before the election based upon the weather and circumstances.
And for folks who are registering for the first time, they only need one form of ID?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I know they need to prove their ID. They may have to prove where they live, but the picture ID
Yep.
that's on the list of the published list of how do you prove your identification, that's the one that makes their ballot either count or have to be provisional.
Just making sure. I know my son registered, he had 2 forms of ID that it was asked for, so just want
Yeah.
to make sure maybe at the polling place it's a little different, but if people have 2 forms, that would be very helpful, right?
Yes, more the better.
All right. Anything else? Do you need is there any equipment that's needed? Signs?
No, I think
I know
we
it's gonna be a little
produced
darker.
the handicap signs, the parking signs, the exit signs. I think we're okay with signs, and I thank the select board for coming and helping out. We may be using you to help man a third desk off and on during the day, so that everybody gets a little bit of everything to try. But I think we're okay. We're ready. So
All right.
just good weather and hope we have a good day.
All right.
Very good.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
all.
Bob.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
On the note of voting, what's everyone's schedule look like for that day? I will most likely be available the whole day, so I'll plan to be there all day.
And I can be there from 7 to 7:15.
Okay.
I'm unavailable.
7:15 p.m.
No. I should be able to be there most of the day anyways.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, I'm unable to
You're unable
because I'm
to.
on the ballot.
Yep.
My house.
It's your house. So, yeah. And I think, depending on Bill, I think he might be in and out that day as well. So that's from what he said. So, all right. So we'll send out an email as we get closer, just to get everyone's time and a schedule down as we get closer. So, all right. Thank you. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, discussion of projects to be considered using ARPA funds. In your packet, Mr. Colby has given us a list of potential items to review and discuss. I leave it to you to start, and then we can go from there.
All right, so following, back up from a previous meeting, back on August 5th, we had presented the balance left to spend or commit by the end of the year of the ARPA money was in the neighborhood of $93,000. Had reached out to department heads and the like to give us ideas of needs and things that obviously would qualify, but are, pressing issues and the like. And in front of you, there is a list of those by department. So quickly, Recreation Department responded with the much needed repair of basketball courts. Highway Department, a chipper box for the truck. Police Department is in need of replacement of its handheld radios. The current radios are worn and they're starting to have problems with them. Fire department has a number of items. The fire chief, the air compressor for the refill of the tanks, was hoping to get 3 or 4 more years out of that, but he's having problems with it. It's being repaired currently. So that is one of the things, along with some additional equipment for the ambulance. The library has given you a proposal, which is in your packet, for meadowscaping. I had put on the cemetery the final project or 2 with the fencing, entrance, and landscaping. Town hall and other, we have our current financial software, which is DOS based. The current company sold out to another vendor, so we are going to be in the need of having to upgrade our financial software probably sooner rather than later. So estimated costs for the financial side, and then obviously the water billing side of things. The building department was looking at an inspection software upgrade, and then had a host of requests for vehicles from various departments, which we certainly don't have enough money for that, but we're working on another plan that we'll bring back to the board with regards to that area. So certainly there's not enough money to cover. I believe if we take out the unknown items, this list totals approximately $235,000. So
25,000 seems to be the favorite number.
it does.
And how much in ARPA do we have left?
93,000. So almost 4 of those $25,000 blocks.
Yeah. I guess my question, Jay, would be is, and to the town manager also, is that what is the most urgent of all of it? I mean, you've got to prioritize. You can't. We're not going to a smorgasbord here where everything looks good and we'll take a little piece of each.
Right.
You know?
No, I understand. I guess it depends on your perspective.
I mean, what's needed now? I mean, for instance, the software upgrade. Are we going to be out of luck with what we have in 6 months, or
No,
are we good?
But that we'll look to put that into the 2025 budget.
Okay.
Same thing, the police department, the replacement of the handheld radios, it's the chief's intention to, slowly replace those, but it's a matter of putting more money into the budget, and systematically replace those.
How many was he looking for to replace?
We've got, I'm not sure how many we have, probably at least I would say 15 radios. So over the course of, we'll have to replace all of them. I'm sure he would be happy with 1, 2, anything to get the process rolling. As I said, the power lift stretcher, for the ambulance right now, they're doing it manually, so that the paramedics and the firefighters are having to lift, so from a safety and a workers' comp type
Seems legitimate. Yeah.
area, that's, probably one of the more important items, if you will.
What's a locust device?
The Lucas device, that is, hold on. It's a mechanical CPR device that's used to perform chest compressions.
So it must go hand in hand with the mechanical ventilator.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily say hand in hand, but these are in order of importance that the fire chief had given me.
Okay.
So
And how much does it cost to get the SCBA tanks filled? Or repaired, I should say.
I'm not sure about repairs.
Okay, and well, I guess how many times has it had to go out to be repaired if it's being fixed right now?
It's another good question. I don't know. If the fire chief is watching, I'm sure he'll text me.
And I guess,
Pretty large unit, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably in-house unit.
and is that air compressor used for other things other than the SCBA?
I do not believe so.
So it's just dedicated to those tanks?
I think it truly is a case of narrowing down what is the most important items,
Right.
you know?
I think health and safety of the employees and the townspeople are the most important things we need to look at.
Okay.
Safety should always be first.
I tend to agree with that. Like, looking at a lot of this, CIP jumps out at me. Like, like I know the cemetery, we have time with that.
Yes,
I
we
think
do.
you and I have talked about that.
Yeah.
You know, I think we have like 4, 5, 6 years, maybe 8 before
Right.
we start to move into that area. So, this was a phased approach. So we could potentially move that one into CIP over the next couple years.
Absolutely.
And do that. I just don't think that's a super high priority at the moment. So I would suggest we take that one off. Like the replacement radios, maybe consider replacing 2 right off just to give them a head start. But these are just my thoughts.
Can I jump on that for a second?
Yeah, sure.
So the radios, we've had that initial conversation about the communication tower. Will there be radios that are involved with that tower as well, or will they all be?
These radios, I believe, would be compatible
Compatible.
with whatever direction that we determine from that standpoint.
Okay.
Do we have radio failures right now?
The replacement radios weren't the best quality when they were replaced 3 or 4 years ago. So they are experiencing failures,
Okay.
troublesome usage with them. So
Okay.
it's becoming just as, every day as they get older, it becomes harder and harder with the use of those.
Okay.
As far as the financial software, like how long are they gonna, what is the service on them? Did they stop servicing the software at some point in time?
I would imagine they will.
They will.
They will.
So we don't know when that end date is going to be.
No, it is an unknown end date at this point, but I would imagine the new company will only,
Support it for
employ
so
so long where they say you've had enough time to, do the conversion or, look into something else, in the meantime.
Have they given any indication on us having to convert or upgrade or find a new software at this point?
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
Is that something you can get state funding on too? No.
No. Not that I am aware of. Haven't seen that.
And the vehicles for the different departments, that if we have if we're switching out vehicles, my opinion is we could use them if they're viable to use, so I'm not sure that that's the best use of the ARPA funds is to buy vehicles for different departments.
As I said, I'm working on a solution with both the police and, quite honestly, the town attorney and his opinion, on a few things. So I will bring a proposal back probably for September 9th on that area.
Okay.
Mike, so I took 93K
Mm-hmm.
and I cut 13 out for radios. That gives us 2 radios.
Yep.
I put the 30 to the rec after we examine the contractual aspect of that. 25 for the power lift and 25 to something that hasn't been discussed, and that's to offset the cost of the new dog officer center that we got coming in. That comes out to you 93.
Oh, the
Covers,
I agree with you,
canine.
all except for the recreation,
okay.
you know?
And I understand that. I see that as
I mean,
something that.
we can agree to disagree on that,
resource that's
yeah,
Sitting
you know.
there.
Right.
Can't be used, and if it is used, we're gonna have somebody dripping or falling in this crap that's accumulated in there, so we can have to
I
shut
get
it down at one point and say it's no longer usable, feasible for any structural purpose.
I get it, I really do,
So, I mean, there's your apples and oranges.
yeah.
Throw out your oranges, I'm ready. But I do believe that the K-9 needs to get some of this funding so it doesn't go right into our tax base.
I agree.
Citizens. So that's my take.
I will say my concern with the basketball court is we're just patching a bigger issue, and I don't know if that estimate will cover the
The only thing that estimate doesn't cover, that's the removal of the original post.
original posts, right? So
That's why I said contractually, I'd like to
yeah,
re-review that and seeing that it's over 6 months old now, probably get a more up-to-date.
because we could repair the crack and make it usable, but there's a potential with those posts in the ground that it could continue the cracking. The other item that we have here, and we have a very
Oh, and I just,
brief, sorry, go ahead.
and I apologize because I didn't mention this prior to, but because Bill's not here, I do have the representation of Bill on the 30 and on the police dog aspect. So, yeah.
And what were you thinking for the canine?
Well, if you took 25 and put it towards the power lift stretcher, 25 for the K9.
So you're looking at 25 for the canine.
Right.
I'm just trying to,
That power, I don't know, excluding that I'm taking the chief's belief that that's in the best interest of the higher on the list. I don't know all the details.
because
Of
it's
the 3 pieces of equipment, and so not counting the air compressor, they are in order of his priority.
That's what I assumed.
Yes, from the stretcher to the Lucas to the mechanical ventilator.
because I can see putting funds towards the canine as well. Because they're looking at the grant and possibly getting 32,000 in the grant. So that closes that gap of what was the total cost, about $92,000, $93,000. So it still leaves you 60,000, and there were some other budgeted items. Was the budget helpful in bringing that number down as well? Or no?
The 90,000?
Current budget?
No.
No, okay. And we'd probably look at, there'd be probably some fundraising associated with the canine as
Yes.
Some
well.
other
Right.
financial
Yes.
gifts that would be coming towards the K9.
All right, and then there's a donor as well. Okay. The other one on here, and it's on here, we haven't mentioned it, is the meadowscaping at the library. They did provide us a proposal. It's about $25,000. This would include installation of a new meandering 300-foot path through wildflower beds, native trees, shrubs, and perennial educational signage, and a few large granite rocks for structures and sitting. So I'm assuming this area would be in front of the library, where all the Yes. Well, the picture suggests, right now it looks like there's a lot of shrubbery in there, or plants. It is a wet area, I know that, so I don't know if there needs to be some building up of this property. And is that something we can do within the confines of conservation? You know what I mean? So is there any restrictions that are we going to be held to?
Well, some of it's going to have to go through the state because it's a wetland area. And they probably will make you build up on pilings
Right.
for the walkways.
Liz, you were at conservation. Was there any?
They talked about it, and Cab came and brought it to us. He was looking to use some of the ARPA funds. We gave some the chair, Jill Center, gave some recommendations to get together with the fifth grade teacher, Dolores Coyle-Quirk, to see how they can incorporate some of the curriculum. There was Fish and Game was to
The Fish and Game
Fish and
Department.
Game
Yeah.
reach out to them to see what can actually go in there as well.
Okay.
Um,
Because I know we have challenges with wildlife around here with,
Yes, we do, with
black racers
black
and
snakes.
brown bats and such. I just didn't know if we would run into any issues trying to do something
You
in there.
don't know until they come
Until
down.
they come out.
Right.
You know, I can tell you up at that site, construction site, 300,000 square foot building, they ran into black racer snakes.
Yeah.
And the state wanted $175,000 to monitor them for 3 years. So you can see how far 20,000 would go if they find something.
Right. That would be my only concern with it. I do like the idea.
I think it's a
Whether
great
it's-
I
idea.
think it's a great idea, but I think the land needs to be vetted by Fish and Game.
Yeah. Probably needs a little more because it's just, once we get into wetlands, you're crossing
It's a whole nother ball.
it's a whole nother ballgame. All right. Does everyone feel like they have enough information here tonight to move forward with the decision, or do you want to table it? Take this in, maybe send some questions, get more answers
So
if you don't have enough?
the funds have to be spent by December 31st or encumbered.
Right, and the encumbrance or encumbered or committed is basically a very strong commitment, like an actual contract with a commitment to pay it.
Okay.
The board taking a vote to say we're going to put it towards this project is not enough.
Okay, so we
Right.
We need an idea of what the project is so that we can, if it goes past the end of the year, so that we can come up with a contract and make that contractual commitment from that standpoint.
Right.
I think we should probably find the ones we agree upon. I mean, do we all agree on 2 radios?
I agree to do radios.
Okay,
Yes.
so there's one right there.
Yeah.
Okay, the lift, do we all agree on the lift?
No, I said I agree on the 2 replacement radios, and I do agree on the power stretcher lift.
Do we want to make individual motions or one big motion?
Well, I think right now we're just trying to find out
I
what we
know.
agree on.
Right.
You know,
Correct. But I think as we agree, lock it in.
yeah.
That'd be 38,000. That would leave 55 with those.
And I guess, how about the dog?
I definitely want to put an earmark towards that dog.
Yes.
25?
Well, I guess that depends on what you want to do with at least 25.
Okay,
I'll leave it at least 25. That's where I stand on it.
I'm
Because that's just gonna be a taxable format for,
right.
I mean, so that's something that and I understand $25,000 when you absorb it across everybody here in town is a cup of coffee, but
Yeah.
it's still a cup of coffee.
Right. I mean, I'd
Far
agree to
less.
25.
The amount for the canine, I might go lower just because I know in the past when we've done this, there's been fundraising for that to close that gap, right? And it's always been around, well, the last time it was around $15,000 that they were looking for. So I don't know. I don't mean to nickel and dime, but would you be happy with 15? I'll stay with the 25, but I would be more inclined to go with 15.
Well,
Just-
it's gonna cost a whole boatload more either way,
Right.
you know?
But that would at least help with that fundraising piece that they may have to do, depending on the grant funding and the donor and the other items. So,
Let's air that at 25 and see where the rest of the funds are going.
yeah.
And then we can back out of that. Where do you want to put the rest of the delta?
What do we have for Delta now?
Well, if you're earmarking 25, 50 would be 63. So you're talking
30.
30 grand?
30. Yep.
Anyone have any thoughts?
I already expressed mine.
Yes, you already did.
I think that my last thought on this is that I'd really like to know how bad the air compressor is for filling the tanks.
Yeah.
Because if it gets to the point where it's not working, we'll have a real issue.
All right. So you have a question on that you want to get answered.
Not that we could afford to give the whole thing, but maybe
Right.
have part of it, you know?
Let's see, 25.
And
Is this-
in the basketball courts, I'll be honest with you, I think that that's something that is a true fundraiser thing and true labor thing. That, you know, I know when we built that field many, many, many moons ago, a lot of that was donated. A lot of it was full work that we all chipped in and did. And I'm still convinced that people care enough about recreation that might not be able to get all of it, but a good portion of it done. I mean, when we built the track at the school, that was all donated. And we put
Right.
up a big sign, and the people that donated, their name went up on the sign, you know?
Is that pulled with the Conestoga wagon? or-
What's that? Archimedes was throwing the javelin back then.
All right. So right now I have the radios, the canine, and the power lift stretcher.
So we want more information on the scuba tank? Not
The
scuba.
compressor.
Yeah.
I'd,
I'm used to filling tanks.
yeah, I'd really like to know how bad it is, and you know, if it's imminent on death, or is it, you know, geez, we got another 4 or 5 years out of this thing. Well, I think we're all, yeah.
Well, I said he was hoping to get 3 or 4 years out of it. So I don't think he's planning on that long.
Okay.
All right.
So do we have to take the rest under advisement?
Yeah.
Walk through this? Have Bill involved a little bit more?
Yeah, I would say, well, at this point, I would say we've gone through this enough, but, you know, is there any appetite for the meadowscaping?
I'd rather see it offset taxes
Yeah.
than things that are already in play.
Right. I would.
Not-
Safety related.
May I ask, is the project ready to break ground, or how close are you to breaking ground? Just out of curiosity. Okay.
I didn't know if you had any questions. Kathy Slade, 124 Willard Way. I'm representing the library trustees. I'm an alternate. So I understand that you're really focused on health and safety. I totally understand that. We are making the pitch, for environmental, educational, recreational, but.
Absolutely.
And I understand, we had talked with conservation and there was some more information to get, about wildlife and things like that. But if you have any specific questions now or in the future, we'd be happy to try to field them. As far as, there's a multi-phases to the project too. So I did a little informal walkabout in the field. We have invasive plants and we have some native plants, and the idea of enhancing what we have natively and reducing what we have invasively is something that we can just do really at any time. So as far as, things that are more involved are more like the structural, the past, the things that would be more disruptive to the property. But I think there's, always the potential for, imminent enhancement as far, and plantings and things like that are something that it is best to do fall and spring, when it's less stress on the plant. So
Do you have a landscape engineer looking at it?
there was somebody that they've been talking to, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know too much of the details about that. And there are a number of different people that have been outlined in here that have expressed interest in being involved in different aspects of it. As Costa had mentioned, one of the teachers at Pollard was very excited about it. We have some other businesses, personal people. I have some ideas of educational things. I'd love to do programming around some of this. A number of years ago, I got accredited in organic land care, and I kept that up for a number of years. I finally let it lapse, but the practices are still,
Sure.
important to me, and something that I learned quite a bit about. So, and anyway, there's been a lot of excitement about the concepts of it. But again, I understand that you're really focusing on health and safety especially with the remainder of the money. But I appreciate all the input and thoughts that you have had.
No billionaires are part of the library that want to donate it when we'll put their name up.
I mean, I guess my point though too is you've made a request for 25, but if we get to the point, if we commit 90 out of the 93 and there still is 3,000 left over, given all of the other people that are involved, I'm sure the library would take whatever dollars may be left.
I can, honestly say yes.
Right.
And as you know, anybody that's worked on any kind of grant writing, whenever there's money that's allocated, it shows support, and then it's easier to get more. Money follows money, right? So, that's a. Well, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but that's always something that's on
Absolutely.
my mind.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, and my opinion is the software, we have time possibly on that, so I don't see that as a high priority, but I do like what we have. So I have replacement radios, the K9, and the power lift stretcher. So does anyone else want to add? You want to do rec? Daryl doesn't. Liz, do you have any thoughts on?
Maybe what we could do is give rec some of that money and kind of do a little fundraising with that if
Mhm.
Just to get it going in maybe 10,000 just so that we can start to get the quotes and all of that. And I understand what you're saying, the lawsuits, and I think if we can put something towards it, it's better than nothing. And maybe we can work on some fundraising, maybe some grants that can help us replace the rest.
Is that a hard number, that 30,000?
30 was in the quote. that they received, and that was the lowest of the quotes.
That was what?
That was the lowest of the quotes.
Okay.
And that included and not limited to cutting out a 3-foot swath where the original track is and resurfacing that whole area. The part that was left out of that, and that's something that we have to revisit, and that is the removal of the original poles up there, which have a base down in underneath, and whether or not they were sunk far enough down and they just heat because of frost.
Sure.
Until you pull them, you don't really know, because
Yeah.
who knows? Once they're in the hole, no one knows what's in the bottom of that hole.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you want that at all, or.
Was that the original? Yeah, I looked at it the other night.
Well, we can just make a motion for these and then come back and revisit the next.
Yeah, we could. Then let's at least do that, and we'll earmark it for at least 3 of these for now. That's the consensus of everybody. And then we can get a little more information on the repairs and
Yeah, I agree.
and work towards the remainder of that balance with some of these other items.
Right, and that depending upon what you earmark for the dog would be. What, 30 to 45,000? After you earmark either 10, 15, 25, whatever you want to do.
Right. Right. Well, let's do a motion on each item. So I'll take a motion for 2 of the replacement radios.
Second.
I'll make the motion.
All right, motion by Liz,
Oh, take a motion.
second by John. Any more discussion? All right, so that would be replacement of 2 radios using ARPA funds for $6,500 each, so it'd be $13,000. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0-0. All right, we'll go next with the power lift stretcher at 25.
I'll make a motion for that.
All right, motion by Daryl. Second.
second.
Second by Liz.
Thanks, sir.
All right, so that's power lift stretcher at 25,000. Any other discussion? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Motion carries 4-0-0. Okay. All right, K9. Take a motion
Make a motion on the K9.
for,
25,000.
okay, can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All right, second by John. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain, motion carries 4-0-0. Okay. So we earmarked 13, 25,
63.
63. So let's review this list a little more and come back maybe at the next meeting, and we'll look at the remainder, what we can do with that. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, moving on. All right, so next up on the agenda is Selectman Britton to be appointed as the second alternate to the planning board. The reason why we're doing this is Bill Coy is going to be out over the next few weeks for travel and some personal reasons. So he's the primary to that committee. I'm the alternate, and we just thought it would be prudent to have a second alternate while Bill is away. So in case myself, which happened to come up, I'm not going to be there this Wednesday. So I'll be late to that meeting. I won't be there on time. But we need to take Daryl off of the Concom as the alternate there, and then appoint him as an alternate to the planning board. So can someone make a motion
I'll
to?
make that motion.
All right, motion by John,
I'll second.
second by Liz. Thank you, Daryl. Sorry, I'll be like 20, 30 minutes late. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries 400. All right, next up, everyone's favorite discussion.
And by the way, I hereby resign as the alternate for the con.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you for your service.
So does that mean I need to go
Yeah.
Thursday night? Calendar's filling up.
Those are on Thursdays, eh?
Yes,
Is that Thursday?
Thursdays. All right, so everyone's favorite discussion, trash and recycling. And I will have Mr. Colby kick it off.
Well, we are a little over halfway through the 5-year contract. We are under contract through December of 2026 with our current trash and recycling provider. The discussion had come up based on the RFPs and going out to bid the last time that there was a lot of discussion, if you remember, that it was going to cost us more because we didn't give the companies that were bidding enough time to order trucks, so that there was a higher cost. They had to rent trucks and the like. So trying to be proactive and get an RFP out so that it will give the companies enough time to respond. So as part of that discussion, I would say try to decide probably by the end of the year of what we're going to do, what direction, and get an RFP out in the spring so that we can make a decision, say next July 1, give companies 18 months lead time on being able to take things over. So that having been said, we had, discussions about the trash and recycling committee, or what is, how does the board want to move forward with this RFP process, given it is not a sensitive topic, but it's an important topic to a lot of people in town. Obviously, is curbside pickup, recycling, disposal of large items, excess. Beth knows it all too well. White goods, you name it. So
The contract expires in December 26.
yes.
So the 18-month lead time. So a couple of things. We would need to obviously put this out to a warrant article. So that's typically what we've done in the past for the trash. So if we were to come up, make a decision July 1st of next year, are those numbers going to hold? We don't know that right now. I don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
And then we would need to wait for the vote in
March.
And then what happens if the warrant doesn't pass? We can't proceed, correct?
Well, usually with a long-term contract, if we have a non-appropriation funding clause, otherwise it does need to go to a town meeting vote.
Okay.
So, and if it is voted down, then no means no, we won't have trash pickup.
I have people burning their trash in the backyard.
They might. All right,
And
so
dumping.
I know last go around we did this. It was a really exciting process,
Yeah, it was.
to say the least. We did establish a trash and recycling committee. They helped kind of facilitate the the distribution of the barrels that we had, and come up with the the instructions around the barrel and the distribution of that, and some input into the contract. But
Good news, I think, Jay, is you've got a lot of it is in basis now.
right.
So it's really the contract.
Right.
You know.
So I want to get a feel from the board. Do you want to kind of do you want to look to reestablish that committee and see if that we'd have to look at the bylaws, obviously, and make changes to those bylaws, but reestablish that committee, charge them with working towards the RFP, or do we want to handle it a couple selectmen, the town manager, maybe we open it up to a couple citizens reps to be included on that small subcommittee and work towards an RFP, and then, but obviously with that, we want input from the public, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to just make this decision in a silo. So we want to know what people like, what they don't like. There are going to be obviously some restrictions because of most trash companies have gone to automated style. On a good note, we won't be paying for barrels anymore because that lease will be up. We'll own all the barrels. But there'll need to be a contingency in place for barrel replacements, right? So there's a lot to consider here. So is this something the board wants to take on with a couple selectmen's reps and a couple citizens, or reestablish the committee? I want to put it out there to everybody.
I think a couple of citizens, a couple of board members. I can say that because I won't be here. You guys.
You're a funny guy.
Maybe include someone from the budget committee. I don't know.
I think expeditiously with everything and the time constraints that we're going to try and work this in, it's probably easier or more prudent to do it with a couple of select persons and then some, as you said, some citizens that have concerns.
I would agree.
Wider
Right.
group.
And Mr. Colby, what are you looking at for time frame again? You'd like to have an RFP ready
Spring,
early spring?
early spring.
Okay. I'll take a consensus of the board. Do you want to go with the committee or the small subcommittee with a couple citizens reps and maybe someone from the budget committee?
I like the second option.
Okay. Option 2,
I agree with that.
you agree? Option 2, okay. I'm on board with that.
2 selectmen, 1 budget committee.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll put a posting out for a couple citizens reps.
Okay.
And then, I think would be prudent to do some public hearings to get input from the public. See if maybe there's a tool we can use to develop a survey that we could send out an email blast. I know that is not entirely accurate because once you put them out there, anyone can fill them out. So, just some things to think about. So.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else related to that? Okay. Approve the consent agenda. That's the account payable manifest for the week of August 15th and the 22nd, and BOS draft minutes of August 5th and the August 5th, 2024. Can I get a motion?
Motion made.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Darrell, second by Liz. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 400. Review the action item list. We're gonna skip that for tonight because we gotta get that updated. But I am going to look to invite the school board reps for some time in September just to come give an update. I know in the past, we've had reps come and give us a yearly update, maybe give us a little more of an update on the recent news of the allocation of unexpended funds, so towards for the public. So maybe they can give us a little more insight on that. Town managers report.
All right. We did have, as it was brought up earlier, we had our kickoff meeting for the water grant, which I thought was very productive and successful. Everyone left there between the state, the residents at Wilder Drive and the like. So they are going to be putting in the temporary water line soon, and with the project timetable to be wrapped up about this time next year. So I had meetings with department heads, a lot of work into budget preparation. The budget docs are out to the department heads. I've already have a handful back. So, those that are right on top of it, or the smaller departments, obviously, they are prepared and ready to go. We had a CIP meeting last Thursday night to start that process, and just day to day, department head meetings and things of that nature. So.
And just a question on the water line, where, can you just tell us where it's going to be run?
It's going to Old County Road where MB Tractor is. It's going to branch off of there, go up Old County towards Park, just past Wilder Drive, and then it will branch up Wilder Drive and end at the entrance to the landfill site right there.
Okay. So there'll be an opportunity for possible expansion down the road up
Yes.
Old County.
Yes.
And it potentially where it's going to be put into, are there residents that have a potential to connect from there?
There are 2 residences that are fed off of the park well right now. So it is going up Old County far enough that those 2 residences we will pull them off of the park well, and they will be on the town water system.
Okay. All right, excellent. Any other questions for town manager? No? All right, selectmen's reports. We'll start this side. Mr. Gifford.
Well, I did go to rec. Finally, we had a quorum, minus the Shermans, which we were greatly missed. They always have so much insight as to going forward with rec. She had a banner year. Jen said that she had a great year for camp all summer, had great attendance. All the CITs and everything else worked out to pass her expectations. So she's already secured some of those, or given them a nod that she'd like to see them back next year, which always helps in the process of doing that, because that always seems to come at the last moment that she's filling those positions. We have concluded the trail, but it hasn't been christened yet, so to speak. We do have to do a walkabout on there and make sure that all of the signage along the trail is up to date, and making sure that nobody wanders off of the trail. It's not crude in its existence, but it hasn't been worked on a lot. It hasn't been walked on a lot, so the defining of the path is not as clear as a month or 2 down the road once people are using it. All summer, it's that stagnant because nobody could utilize it during camp hours. So. And that's all I got right now.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Britton.
I've got a couple of things. One, September 9th, just this information, is the CIP meeting for the school. Mm-hmm. So I'll be attending that. The other thing, on a sort of a sad note, especially people who have been around a long time, Rita Sampson passed away.
When?
I think it was this past week, I believe, but I'm not sure. But she took and did all the flowers out front here and took care of everything for years and years and years at no cost to the town. She put everything out of her own pocket, took care of everything. So and her husband did a lot for the fire department also. So it's a sad day that she's gone, and she should be recognized for all the work and all the years she did do the work.
Yep.
That's what I have, Tom.
Thank you, Darryl.
I'm really upset by that. She was a wonderful woman.
Mm-hmm.
I attended the CIP, attended the Energy Committee where we just kind of went over contracts. And we entertained someone coming in to speak about more solar panels. Conservation Committee is next month. Budget Committee is tomorrow. And Elder Affairs is tomorrow.
Okay. All right, thank you. I attended CIP. I have a budget committee meeting tomorrow night, and I will be going to planning later on Wednesday. I'll be late to that meeting. There is a elder affairs meeting tomorrow. I'm going to try to come by that as well at 10 a.m. Thank you, Daryl, for mentioning Rita. I was going to say a few things, but you pretty much covered what I was going to say, so thank you. She was always, I worked with her on a couple things, and she was a wealth of knowledge and always, told you where to go and how to do things. And I appreciated that from her. So she was, she'll be missed. So my condolences, our condolences to the Sampson family. Also, sad to report there are a couple other passings. Davina Schmidt was a former Board of Selectmen rep in town. Her and her husband were very active with the cable studio way back in, well, not way back, but back in the 80s and early 90s. They got it up and running over on 125. I know they've been out of town for some time, but I wanted to make sure we mentioned that and recognize Davina for her.
I didn't know she had passed.
That happened this past week.
I mean, every time I went to Florida, we would see her.
From what I was told, they were up in Maine, living up in Maine, or up in Maine this time of year. So, also, sad to report, Carly Bulent, her husband David, passed away recently. He was very involved with her in when they started the Festival of Trees here at Town Hall with Michelle Curran. So they worked a lot to get that going, and he was very active with Carly in doing a lot of the senior deliveries around Christmas. So our condolences to Carly and her family on the passing of David. So not much of sad news to report tonight. So next up, our events. Remember, the state primary is going to be Tuesday, September 10th at the Plastow Fishing Game. That time is going to be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. This is a state election, so we have to follow the time frame that the state follows, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the fishing game. This year, the 9/11 ceremony will be brief, but it will be at the fire station. We're looking to announce a more detailed program on that in the next couple weeks or so. So that will take place on September 11th at the fire department. It'll most likely be not early in the morning, but around 9:30ish. Trails at the park will be open Saturday, September 14th. I believe that's a tentative date for the ribbon cutting celebration for that.
What date is that, Jay?
Saturday, September 14th. And then also Recreation is putting on their annual or town-wide yard sale. That will be Saturday, September 14th as well. This evening, we were supposed to have the push-in ceremony for the new ladder truck that has been postponed, and that will take place next Monday, August 26th at 5 p.m. at the fire station. So everyone is welcome. So please join us in welcoming our new fire truck. And I think we need a lot of people to help push that thing in. It's pretty big. And then moving into October, I can't believe we're talking about October already, but the pumpkin lighting right now is going to be held Saturday, October 26th from 4 to 7 p.m. We'll mention it as we get closer to that, and then trick or treat October 31st. So it's just around the corner. So
Jeez, you do motivational speaking on the weekend.
that's my part-time job. Any other business before the board? No? Okay. Do we need a
No, we did not.
non-public? No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do we need to?
Not yet.
Okay.
We don't need to yet. I'll adjourn the meeting at 7:21. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Yeah.